I'm Logan Lilja,
I'm Brianna Sheets.
I'm Zachary from Layson.
and you're listening to Terror Talks. So, today's episode, since Bree doesn't know much about horror,
Not a lot.
is we're gonna talk about some simple, or not simple, but some starter horror films to just kind of ease you into the genre.
Yeah, cause I've barely seen any. I've seen like Midsommar, and that's it.
Which is
rough one to start
Yeah,
with.
very, very rough to start with. It
I
was.
feel like that and Hereditary.
And I almost watched Hereditary, but I
No.
decided I need a long break after Midsommar. So
Hereditary is really, it's super sad though, but it's really good.
yeah, but I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm a coward.
It's not really scary.
I want to start with Hereditary.
I
really want to
wouldn't
start
either.
with Hereditary. Yeah.
But some good starters are like slasher movies because they're not really scary. I mean, they have some like scares every here and now, but they're just an easy starter to get into because then you don't really need to understand the story. It's just guy in mask with knife killing
So, like,
people.
Michael, Jason, Freddy.
Yeah.
All the, why do they? They just all have regular names.
I think the nice thing about that too is it's like slashers are so mainstream. It's really easy just to talk about them with anybody.
Yeah.
It's not like you're talking about some obscure horror movie.
Because even if you don't know horror, you know those three.
Yeah, like you know Jason Voorhees. Like that's just
You know who they are.
Every Halloween, you're gonna meet a Jason. You're gonna meet a Michael.
Mhm.
I'm not sure about a Freddy though, because he's kind of like wrinkly and looks like a thumb. But you know.
he's literally me.
Okay. But and then some that aren't slasher because I mean there's a bunch of horror like other genres. There's subgenres to horror. There's a lot of subgenres. But like some for like paranormal, some ones to start off with are like Paranormal Activity because again, they're not really scary, but they've got a few like a couple jump scares in them, and then they kind of set the tone for like found footage, but also paranormal.
I think I remember those from when I was younger. I think my mom used to watch those all the time. I have a few core memories of Paranormal Activity moments.
Yeah. And then some other ones like Final Destination. They're not scary at all. There aren't really jump scares, but it's kind of a supernatural type thing. It's like some person gets a vision and then stops a group of people from dying in a terrible accident, and then death comes for them one by one.
Would you say Final Destination counts as a horror movie?
Yeah. It's there's a lot of horror movies that wouldn't seem horror that are because there's so many subgenres that some movies just fit into those subgenres.
For me, Final Destination just always seemed like it's more like an edgy movie for people that just want to see gore. That's the biggest thing that Final Destination is. There's not like much like scariness to it.
I
Yeah.
feel like gore is either like heavy action or horror. I don't feel like you don't see gore otherwise.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I would hate to see gore in a romance film.
Yeah. Like you're watching a Romeo and Juliet ripoff, and then all of a sudden you're seeing guts. That would be the real horror.
That'd be metal, honestly.
That would be metal, but I would be scared.
And then there's like a more child-friendly horror type stuff that helps, like Goosebumps.
I love Goosebumps.
Like especially the original like TV
Scary
show.
Stories to Tell in the Dark and Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I watched those. Oh, I would watch those series over and over. I loved those.
Mm.
I read all the books.
A good show also is like the American Horror Story. I've only seen a couple of seasons, but they weren't really scary, and then they had some good stories.
I heard that they just get like crazier and crazier and like scarier every season,
Yeah.
and that you can kind of just start wherever.
Yeah, each season it's a different story, and it has nothing to do with a season before. So like the only ones I've watched was the first season and then 1970 something, which is like a Jason type situation, a camp and a slasher.
So, American Horror Story, just kind of like start out with a series.
Yeah.
Or maybe start out with like one of the easier movies and then a series.
Yeah.
Goes into it.
What would you say is like a good movie to start getting you into like the scarier side of horror?
Ooh. To get kind of all of those kind of help you get into the scarier side because there's like either there's jump scares here and there, and then it kind of gets you used to them, so you can start seeing more. And then like, I'd say probably some of the worst movies to start with are like The Conjuring or Insidious.
Really? So
Yeah.
many people started with The Conjuring.
I know, and it's such a bad one to start off with.
What makes it bad?
Yeah.
It's just like it has more it's more like scares and everything, and like every 20 minutes there's like a jump scare.
So it's more like of a pure horror.
Yeah,
than
it's
like
more
less gimmicky horror with like the slasher and more like actual like, oh, I'm actually scared.
well, I mean there is definitely gimmick in it, but yeah, it has more scare. I don't think there's really a not gimmicky horror film.
Yeah, but I don't think you're gonna see like 20-year-old frat boys being
That's-
the Conjuring girl for Halloween.
That's
They're gonna be
true.
Jason Voorhees.
And then another really good one, some psychological horror films are good to start off with. Because not Hereditary though.
Not
And not
Midsommar
Midsommar. Midsommar made me
Yeah,
freak out.
Midsommar is oof.
It was definitely. I was sitting there at the end with my jaw on the floor.
Mm.
I was like,
You know,
"There's no way."
It was like bad, but from like a beginning standpoint, it's not super scary. It's more just like messes with your head.
Like
Yeah.
I'm sick to my stomach type of horror, and not like big scare, but like an like an
Mhm.
ew, a gross feeling in my tummy.
Yeah, like one of my favorite psychological films is The Lighthouse.
I want to watch that one really bad, but I was like, I feel like I haven't watched enough horror to watch it, or like psychological films to
Mhm.
watch it. And I was like, I need to understand the genre before I watch that movie.
No, one of my favorite psychological horror movies is The Empty Man. I think it's criminally underrated.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I've
nobody.
never even heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's heard of it. I think it was a big movie. I think it was released around like COVID era, so it's not too long ago, and it was like very mixed reviews when it came out. And I think it's because it has such an open ending, and people really hate open endings sometimes. They more want like a conclusive. This is how it finished.
Yeah, I loved The Empty Man because we tried watching it at one point and we were just completely distracted, so we never like actually watched it. So I went back and watched it again, and it was really good.
It's really good. Criminally underrated.
Another, I wouldn't say, not really psychological, but it's just like, it's a crazy movie, but it's Malignant. That's what it's called, and it's such a good film. I don't know if it's a good start film, but it's really good.
So is that like the next step after watching like
Yeah.
slasher films and stuff?
Yeah, probably.
Is it like, so you said it's not psych or anything?
It's a little bit psychological, and then it has like a really big twist, and there's a lot of gore in it.
Is Donnie Darko a horror movie? Because I've had people recommend that one to me a lot.
Technically, yeah, but it's not one that I really care about too much. But I'd say still counts as horror.
I would say one psychological horror that I've been really wanting to see is The Substance.
Mm.
I've heard it's crazy. I've heard it's very, very gory, but it's mostly like psychological, like,
So, some other good starters would be like, it's not It's not too scary, but it's the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
I've seen it. I watched that in theaters with my brother after he broke his arm. I remember that and we were getting like bullied during the movie. I very much remember the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I remember every emotion of it.
Yeah, it's like not. There were like no jump scares in it that I remember.
I really went in expecting it to be like really scary because those games freak me out. I cannot play those games without screaming and almost peeing. And so I went into the movie thinking I was gonna get like this crazy jump scare or get them with like without the shiny pretty exoskeleton, and instead I got them building pillow forts.
Yeah,
it's usually they've bled the well dry.
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's has no scares.
And I know that they were based more on like the movie was based on more on the books than the games, but they really should have based it off the games.
They really should. I mean, I didn't like it.
I wasn't a fan.
I like Five Nights at Freddy's, but the movie, I'm gonna say I liked Five Nights at Freddy's. But the movie was horrible.
I did not like the movie. I didn't want big, pretty, shiny bots. I wanted like creepy metal endoskeletons like chasing and killing people. And instead, I got a cupcake like shoving itself in a guy's face. And it's like, oh, it's eating him. He's dying, and I'm like, is it? Kind of just looks like it's just a little floating cupcake. It's like I really wanted horror.
Too polished. It's like the whole point of it at first is like it was scary because they didn't feel human at all because it was an indie game and they were trying to make them feel that way. But it's like gotten more popular and they've had a higher and higher budget. And now it's looking more and more real, and that's like not the point.
Yeah, the movie feels like it Lisa Frankified of it. You know, it made it pretty colors and shine. It was kind of like those baby fruit stimulation videos.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
Yeah,
and I wanted like when I think horror, I do think The Conjuring. And I was like, oh, I want gore and I want horror, and instead I got. Oh, they're my friends.
Yeah, because
like, oh,
like the games are just. You're trying to survive them, trying to stuff you inside of a suit.
And you're gonna get impaled, or you'll get, like, eaten or something.
Yeah, but no, it was like, oh, they're just misunderstood. You just gotta draw a nice painting, and then, boom, it's okay.
They're actually chasing me through the hallways, but I don't know why I'm scared, because they don't look threatening even a little bit. And I'm pretty sure if you just find some switch on their body, they'll shut down.
To be fair, would you imagine how much parents would have outraged if they had like an actual scary movie and then all the kids were like, I want to go see my favorite, like the movie of my favorite game, and they were just terrified?
Well, to be fair, that's a horror game already, so that's the parents' fault.
Yeah.
Why are you letting your kid play a terrifying horror game?
I could see them never actually playing the game and just watching like Markiplier.
Yeah, that's probably it. And then like another a good film. It's my favorite horror film, but Scream. That's probably one of the best starting horror films.
The only thing I know about Scream is that it has... Oh, crap, I can't remember his name.
Ghostface?
No.
Matthew Lillard?
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
You look like Matthew Lillard. That's how I remember.
Oh,
is that
okay.
your favorite is Scream and you look like Matthew Lillard. That's how I remember he's in that one. And he's like a punk. I remember he's a punk in that film. Or like a more alternative. And one of them.
That's in a different movie.
Oh, which one am I thinking of then?
I'm not sure.
I know he's been in multiple 90s horror flicks. And I want to watch all of them because I love Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, in Scream, he was... Scream, he was just kind of like an excited and just over-the-top person. And
I
like,
love that for him.
like he was screaming most of his lines.
I want to watch... I really want to watch the Scream movies. I didn't know where to start because I feel like there's a lot when it comes to those like slasher films. There's like so many of them.
There's like.
And I'm like, where's the original? And then which ones are the ones that people are like, don't watch this one, it sucks and it's not canon.
So Scream, okay, that's with Halloween. I'll explain Halloween in a second, but Scream, it's just one after the other. It takes place one after another. The only thing confusing is that there's the original Scream, and then there's Scream 5, which is just Scream again for some reason. But it was made in 2022. So it goes Scream 1, 2, 3, 4, Scream again, and then Scream 6.
Hello. Just skip a number. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, they were like 1, 2, 3, 4. Nah.
Not a big
6.
deal. There's a devil's number.
Is there some like reason to that? Is there like a behind the scenes, like there would have been a 5 but it got canceled, or like
They're just special like that.
So now explaining Halloween is like you got Halloween 1, and then there are so many different like timelines in Halloween. Like there's one that goes Halloween 1, 2, 3, and 4, or not 4 and 5, because 3 was a completely different movie. Michael Myers wasn't even in it.
Hold on. What? So then it's not.
It's
not Halloween.
It's not Halloween, but John Carpenter wanted to make like a anthology series, and like Halloween was like the name of it, and then there's different stories. But Michael Myers was too popular.
Yeah, so they had to just.
So they had to bring him back.
So he tried it, and people were like, absolutely.
People
not.
were like, nah.
Absolutely not.
But so the first
Bring the big
timeline.
one back.
So the first timeline is 1 through 6, and then Halloween H2O came out, which is Halloween 20 years later, which that started a new timeline, which was Halloween 1, 2, H2O, then Resurrection. And
That's too many to remember.
Then there was Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween 1 and
Rob
2.
Zombie,
I love House of a Thousand Corpses. That's the only movie that I like of Rob Zombie.
You know, I've just realized the reason so many movies have like multiverse stuff going on or like different timelines is so they can keep draining the IP of everything it has.
Yeah,
No,
never
they
planned that
kept
far.
retconning Michael so much.
They definitely never planned that far in the series, but it got so popular they were like, I'm just gonna make it up.
Well, because you have Michael die in like the last or like the movie before this one, and then you're like, oh, but we still kind of need Michael for this movie.
Yeah.
Let's just say he didn't actually die,
Oh,
or
yeah.
just something happened.
In 10 years, they're gonna have another one that's gonna be like, but
Yeah.
actually, Michael evaded it, and he's alive again. Somehow, like 80 years later, and he's still killing people.
With H2O, Laurie Strode, the main like survivor, cut off his head, and in Resurrection they were just like, nah, Michael put his mask on some other guy who he slit his throat so he couldn't talk. And it was
That's
So it wasn't a
horrible.
resurrection.
No.
He just didn't die in the first place.
Yeah.
And it was a terrible cover-up.
and then like after that timeline there was Halloween, then Halloween again, but it's 2018. So they went Halloween, Halloween, Halloween kills, Halloween ends.
How many movies are named just Halloween?
Uh,
Probably a lot.
Like without any like Halloween kills or numbers or anything to it, just like
3. There's the original Halloween, there's 2018, and then there's Rob Zombie's Halloween.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I was the kid that watched like Halloween Town when I was younger. And you're over here watching like, oh my god, Michael Myers is killing people, and I'm like, but look at the funny skeleton.
Oh, that brings me back. The best movie to ever start with for horror, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's such an amazing movie in every way. That movie, I would dare say, is perfect.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yes.
What if I tell you that I'm terrified of clowns?
Well-
You will. Okay, then you're gonna get the terror part of it. But it's such a great B movie. It's like
Yeah.
it's all
Such-
just the worst acting. The costumes are so good though.
Yeah, the prosthetics, or not prosthetics, but the masks for the clowns looks incredible.
Yeah. But it's also like the worst acting you've ever seen.
Mm.
They spent all of their budget on that props.
All
and
that
They
talent.
spent all of the budget on the clowns and all of their goofy stuff.
Makeup artist.
It's so goofy. Goofy is the best word for that movie. It's goofy and also scary, but very silly. I love it.
Yeah, when I think of clown horror movies, I just think of It. And
Yeah.
I've seen both of them, and one thing about me,
Okay.
if it's a horror movie and it's like kids getting hurt, now that scares me. That scares me really. I watched It. I remember I tried to rewatch it by myself like 2 months ago, and I couldn't even get past the first scene because it freaked me out so bad. And
So-
then It too, obviously freaked me out.
So there's the original like TV miniseries
No, I
It,
watched the
and then
review.
yeah.
But I haven't. I know the original is like way funnier,
Yeah.
way sillier. But I watched the
Like
Finn Wolfhard version, and I almost shat myself.
I think it is extremely overrated.
Why are you guys laughing at me?
You just said I almost shat myself.
I did. It was actually so
This is
bad.
going posted on the school.
Yeah, this
Fine.
is just yeah. That's great.
It literally scared me so bad. I couldn't rewatch it.
I don't think a lot of people are gonna make it 20 minutes into the video, so I think we're fine.
You'd be surprised. The one episode with you got over 100 views.
What?
Yeah.
Do you have to get to the end to count as a view, or do
I
you
think
just have
so,
to click-
yeah.
I think it has to get to the halfway point. Isn't it?
I think it's
That's
the end.
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
Watch the views drop.
the retention graph is gonna be
Exactly.
incredible.
A
We're
woman.
gonna get to 20 minutes just.
Disgusting. They
Yeah.
just turn it off. They hear my voice, they turn it off immediately.
They're just like,
They're
oh,
absolutely
a
not.
woman.
Ew, a woman in horror? No.
You're gonna be the first to die, Brianna.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I'm gonna be acting out in your horror movies, I kind of gotta get to know horror. Cause I mean,
Yeah.
what if someday somebody's asking me about it? They're like, oh, you did all these mini movies, da da da, and then I have to admit that I've never even watched The Conjuring. That would be embarrassing. So now I have to watch like all of these movies by myself in my room. I'm scared.
Most of my horror knowledge comes from either Logan or watching Moist Critical on YouTube. Those are my two sources.
I steer clear of it because I'm like, if I haven't watched the movie, I don't deserve to watch the content. If that makes any sense.
So I've just been like slowly like, no, come to horror.
No, come back, and I've been like, but I'm scared, and it's like, well, that is the point.
That is
actually
indeed the
is
point.
Why you watch horror is to get scared. Fun fact.
I want to watch something that's scary, but also not just like super brutal. It's really like a hard thing in horror because like any good horror movie with a budget is usually going to use a lot of gore.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
that's how I feel about Midsommar. Like, is that there were brutal scenes, like the sacrifice scene, or when they got too old, so this kind of hopped off a cliff. But like, I feel like the rest of the movie, and then obviously the scene where somebody's like hanging by their lungs, that was pretty.
Yeah,
freaky. But like, it wasn't like brutish slasher killing people.
Mm.
It was like it was casual in their society, and I think that's what really freaked me out.
Yeah.
I think Jigsaw was the first one to bridge it from like slashers that are like, oh, you can't actually show the body or like the killing. Like you can, but you're not gonna like actually show just like a straight up lung that's been torn out of someone's torso.
Yeah.
And then Jigsaw came in, they're like, we're gonna show everything.
Saw was just like, what's up? We're gonna kill people very brutally.
People are gonna die, and sucks to be them.
And-
at least it's not us.
And like in the later films, I swear the people who are like run this like Jigsaw operation type thing, because there's so many series gets really
Never. Anybody listening to this, never watch Spiral. It's so
No.
bad.
Spiral is the worst
It's
film in the
not even
series.
fun bad. It's just so bad. It's deadly boring.
Is that part of the Jigsaw series?
Yeah.
Yep.
Except he doesn't have like the cool deep voice that Jigsaw usually has. He has like a nasally, squeaky voice. He's like,
Hello, detective.
You want to play a game?
You want to play a game?
I'm playing game
It's
to
so
get cut
bad.
off your arm.
Hey, what?
it's
Hey, I'm
not.
not gonna do that.
It's not enjoyable or scary or the gore is not even that good.
No,
in it. It's just not
wasn't.
redeemable in any way. Don't watch it.
So are the first couple of Saw movies good?
Yeah.
I'd say it depends on what you like.
Yeah,
I
it
don't like
depends.
them personally, but I can see how somebody would love them.
It's definitely like if you're like, ooh, yippee, blood guts, it's your movie.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah. I like it because I liked how new it was when it came out. Like it was a new
Concept.
and then it started a new genre for horror, which is torture porn. And there's so
bad.
and like right after Saw, so many movies did the all brutal murder. Like Hostel, I think, is the most popular other series who has done that. And it's where these group of friends go to Germany, and then like a person who they get kidnapped, and the people like sell on the black market these people so they can come in and murder them in however way they want. And so it's a wild movie.
Saw always seemed really unique to me because all the other like slasher killer films were always like, oh, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna stab you and you're gonna die. But I always thought of Saw as really unique because it was like he just like kidnaps you and puts you in a room and it's your own brain. You have to do it to yourself, and I thought that was really cool because like you become your own slasher.
Yeah,
even though it's him forcing you to do it. That's why I always was like,
it's like, how bad do you want to survive? That's his whole thing.
Like, is it even worth it after you've mutilated yourself?
And also, Nightmare on Elm Street is such a good horror movie. I love the graphics in it. Just the way they do Freddy Krueger every time is amazing.
I wouldn't say every
time. The earlier ones. Okay, yeah. Let me rephrase that. The times they do Freddy Krueger in the earlier ones is always amazing.
1, 3, and 4, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
You don't like 2?
I didn't like 2.
Oh, that's.
But so, like the remake, horrible.
Yeah.
The remake was horrible.
The remake was bad.
And then I think it was 7, but it was Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare. It's so bad.
Some of the special effects. I think wasn't that when they started like just getting into CGI, and it wasn't very developed at the time. It looked so bad.
And then like
Nightmare on Elm Street, like you go to sleep and he tortures you in your dreams.
Yep.
And if you die in your dreams,
I have insomnia. I'm good.
Yeah, if you're an insomniac, you're fine.
I sleep maybe like an hour.
Well, he's coming for you.
Some
an
nights
hour
I don't
out.
sleep at all. Like, I'm surviving. Sorry, goodbye to y'all. I'm living.
The thing I like most about the first one, it's my favorite time with Freddy Krueger, because like you get to 7 and he's just he's goofy and annoying, but in the first one he's like dark funny, like he's.
It almost feels like he's like touching the fourth wall when he's like calling some stuff. Like it's funny to us, but you know it wouldn't be funny if you were in that situation. And it's just a weird like synergization that's like it doesn't come off weird or silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I saw that man coming towards me in my dream, I'd wake up with the bed wetted. I'd wake up and I would have wet the bed.
And then like one of my favorite movies of like the slashers is like Freddy vs. Jason, but only for the last like 20 minutes, because that's when it actually gets to Freddy vs. Jason.
I hate movies like that where it's like, oh, we're gonna cross over, but are we really gonna
cross over? We got to like
over?
a weird time, like I think it was around 2015 where everybody was fighting each other, and I don't
Superman
know.
was with Batman.
Yeah, it just became a weird trend for like a year or two.
Yeah, then there was Alien vs. Predator, which sounds so cool, but in both movies.
Are those movies good?
No. Oh. Or I mean, the Predator and Alien movies, like before AVP, they're pretty good.
Are those like good horror ones to watch?
Yeah, probably not to start with, but they're pretty good to watch. Yeah. They're more like sci-fi horror.
I think, one I watched when I was younger, and I used to watch it all the time. The Darkest Hour. You ever heard of it?
Mm-mm.
It's like these weird aliens that are like, they're almost like gas clouds, but they're like weird. They're like light. It's so weird. But like if you touch them or their tendrils touch you, then you like evaporate. And so it's these people trying to survive, and they figure out that, like, oh, they can't see through glass. So it's just them trying to get to safety. And it's, like, genuinely freaked me out so bad, but it's so good.
Yeah.
We all should watch it. It's so good.
We should watch it.
I freak with it heavy.
But, yeah, I think that's where we should stop, though. But those are some good starter films to start with, and just kind of get you into.
I'll make a checklist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna watch them, then I'm not gonna watch them.
There's this one thing on Amazon that has like a poster, and you like scratch it off, and it's like a horror movie behind the scratch, and it's just like, watch this one.
Maybe I should do it.
Yeah,
that would actually be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Even I put watching things off, but I should do it.
But yeah. All right. I've been Logan.
I've been Zach.
I've been Brianna.
And you've been listening to Terror Talk.